Yo, what's up, guys? It's Chris. Today we're going over kinematics to review for Science CIL of physics. So kinematics is actually a very basic topic, but you need to understand kinematics to do good on any other questions. I'll say there is three very important equations in kinematics. So the first one is, you can see on the right side, I list out an entire AP physics equation sheet. So it'll be the first three of them. So it will be Vx equals Vx0 plus axt. That's your first equation. And your second equation is delta x equals V0t plus 1 over 2 at squared. And your third equation is v squared equals V0 squared plus 2a delta x. Okay, so before I explain the equations, let's talk about what are the variables, right? Like, what is v, right? So for v is velocity. So velocity, some people just confuse it with speed. Okay, so velocity, we have velocity and we have speed. So velocity is displacement over time, right? So think about it as this. So imagine you and your friend started Minecraft, right? You see like you and your friend made your base at spawn point, which is 0, 0 in Minecraft terms, right? X and Z, that's your X and Z coordinates. And then your friends went away for a venture. So he went to a cave that's located at let's say 100 and 0, okay? And then your friends tell you to hurry over to the place. And so what you did is you didn't just straight up go to the cave. You went to a cherry grove, right, nearby to get some like cherry wood because you like cherry wood. So per se it's like negative 200 and 0. And you go back. And this entire trip took you like 2 minutes. And your friend said, oh, damn, you're so slow. You have such a slow speed. Which you can tell them that's not true because, see, for total distance, you travel, for speed is total distance over time. So in total, you actually traveled 500 blocks because you traveled 200, 200 back, and then 100 to the cave. So it's 500 divided by 2 minutes. Which is like 25, which is 250 blocks a minute, which is not bad at all, right? But what he can say is you have a really slow velocity because your displacement over time, because this 200 here and 200 here cancels out, so your displacement over time will be 100 blocks over 2 minutes, which will only be like around 50 blocks, which is like slow as hell, right? So remember that speed is distance and velocity has a sign, so what matters is your displacement. Okay, so now let's talk about the first equation. Very simple, easy. Your velocity, final velocity equals your initial velocity plus acceleration times time. Right? It's very simple because you know that acceleration is how much your velocity change over time. So you just did the reverse of that. And our second equation is the displacement equals V0t plus 1 over 2 at squared. Acceleration times square, right? So V0 is your initial velocity times time. And then 1 over 2 at squared, A is your acceleration, times your t squared will give you the change in your displacement. Remember, this equation is very important in calculating displacement based on time. So when you see it's given time and it asks something about displacement, use this equation. And the final equation doesn't involve time, and it only involves in velocity and change in distance. So your final velocity is your initial velocity. Your final velocity squared is your initial velocity squared plus 2 times acceleration times the change in your displacement. So when do we use this type of equation is when it asks you about displacement. I only give you final velocity. You can only find the acceleration. Use this. So this is no time. Right? So that is concluded almost all kinematics. Some people will say, oh no, Chris, there's 2D kinematics, so different from 1D, right? But realistically, you just have a y and an x instead of having a single x. So for example, it'll ask you a ball that's falling down from like free fall, right? How it is thrown at a velocity of like 3 meters per second. How far would it fall down? But you just analyze. So for 2D kinematics, you just analyze the 2 dimensions differently. So for y, right, you only have your y, your initial velocity is 0, and you have a acceleration of g, right? A equals g. And for x, your initial velocity is 3 millimeter per second, and whatever you throw the speed at, and then your acceleration is 0, right? So just remember that it eventually come back to 1D kinematics. You just like pull the 2D kinematics apart and into 1D kinematics and solve the problem and make equations. Okay, so let's talk about an example, because in UIL physics, it never really asks about kinematics, always embedded in some questions. But one sample you can find that I made was that I can find online was this. So basically asking you a car traveling at 20 meters. So it says a car that's traveling on 20 meters per second, right? You have a little car over here. Make it a Porsche, make it a Lamborghini, whatever you like. So 20 meters per second. Slams on brake and stops over a distance of 40 meters. And I'll ask you about acceleration, right? So we see there is no fudging time. So no time. What equation did I talk about? Right? No time. No time, right? So your final velocity equals v naught squared plus 2a delta x, right? So your no is stopped, so your final velocity is 0. So 0 equals your initial velocity is 20 meters per second, 20 squared plus 2a is still 2a, and your delta x is 40. And all of a second, you only have acceleration as your variable because you didn't consider time, right? Again, if you don't see a time question, don't use the time equation. So it'll be 0 equals 400 plus 80a, right? So your a equals negative 5 meters per second squared, right? So just remember all these 3 equations are very important, but usually it's more on the easier side, kinematics, right? It's the basic of physics. But you need to know how to use these equations and just see what scenarios it gives you. That basically sums up kinematics. Thank you guys for watching, and tomorrow we should be going over I think we'll see. I'll try the calendar, but not really sure right now. And please remember that I'm uploading all my notes of biology and chemistry onto my website, which is going to be in the link in my description. I hope you guys like it, and you guys have a good day. All right, see you guys.